Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. Our only guest
This week.
Yeah.
We had to make an exception.
So you know it must be very important. We have Andrew Yang here.
You could say CNN commentator Andrew Yang.
Okay, CNN commentator and a whole lot more. Andrew Yang is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys. I didn't know I was the only guest. I feel very special. Thank you.
Yeah, you're the only guest to actually come in. So
Now, have you
figured it must be special?
Yeah, I know we got something special to talk about, but have you experienced any bigotry because of the coronavirus or the China virus, as the president calls it?
Not directly, but as an Asian American, you can't help but feel bad for the fact that your community is getting called out in that way. I mean, it's pretty dark.
What did you think when he called it the China virus, and him saying the reason I called it that is because China was saying that it was started from American soldiers?
I think it's the same old bullshit distraction ploy that Trump uses whenever things are going wrong for him. And this is definitely very much going wrong for him, given that his administration dropped the ball so egregiously on this for weeks. And you can't get those 6 weeks back.
No.
Yeah, I was shocked that he actually told the truth this week and said, look, this is a pandemic. You know, like this is wrong.
Did he have a choice, though, at this point?
Yeah, he could have doubled down and kept lying.
Yeah, I've been rough when people start, getting sick right and left. I mean, the facts were gonna catch up. It's like you ignore it and then you swing to the other extreme. I wouldn't be surprised if he then changes tone again and again, because he can't keep the same tone for more than 2 or 3 days at a time.
Now, if you were president during the time, would you have shut the country down early? What would you do if you were president right now?
Well, the first thing is you try and suppress and contain the virus when there are a limited number of cases, where you could actually do what's called tracing people, where you have cases, you try and monitor who they came into contact with. Missing that window was crucial because at this point, it's almost impossible to do any kind of trace. You have so many people that have been in contact with other people that have been tested positive. So at this point now we're in mitigation mode, and mitigation mode is incredibly painful for us all, where you're shutting down the economy. You're not allowing people to get together in groups of not allowing, but it's discouraging groups of
more
50 plus or 10 plus for 2 months. And the reason I'm here today is because I understand what that means in terms of people's day-to-day lives and ability to feed yourself.
Right.
Because if you look around here in New York and around the country, think about the industries that have been affected. It's not just people who work in restaurants and bars, and that's a lot of people. That's not just cooks and wait staff and managers, parking attendants. But then you look at all of the people that rely upon, frankly, going out and actually doing their job every day. So that's personal trainers, nail salons, security guards, ushers. Every sporting event's canceled. You think about that in terms of the economic loss. And so, to me, the decision to shut down the economy is in some ways as dangerous as the virus itself. Because if you have millions of Americans sent home and their money's going to dry up pretty quick, you're looking around saying, am I going to be able to feed myself? Can I pay my rent? Are we paying rent now? Because, there are people who've been sent home in this way. To me, that's a massive danger, a potential. So we're already in a recession, right now, categorically. And the question is, how deep and dark is it going to get, and can it become a depression? Mnuchin projected that if we didn't do anything big, we'd wind up with 20% unemployment, which is Great Depression era level rates of unemployment. So you have the virus, and then you have all the economic havoc and devastation and deprivation being caused by the clampdown in response to the virus.
And overwhelming the healthcare system.
Yeah, and overwhelming the healthcare system, because right now, I don't know about you guys, but if I got sick right now, you try and get tested, but how confident would you be that you'd get a test in the right time frame?
I mean, it's almost impossible unless you're,
Well, we have a certain level
Lakers.
of celebrity, so I'm sure we could get one. But it seems like all the celebrities and athletes are getting them.
Yeah, I guess I'd pick up my ccelebrity hotline.
There you go.
I actually don't know what that hotline is, so I wouldn't know what to do. But So the healthcare system is being overwhelmed by both real cases showing up, but also everyone being like, hey, I don't feel so good. Can I get a test? And what does that mean? The big thing I'm concerned about right now, in addition to the obvious, is that so my kids' schools shut down. I mean, everyone's schools have shut down at this point.
Ours too, yeah.
And so the question is, what would be the signal that would allow the schools to reopen? Like, when would the school say, okay, all clear, time to bring it back? And so in order to have that signal, you would need to have some kind of data on the decline in the infection rate or number of cases. But right now, because our testing is so inadequate, we don't even know what that rate is. We don't know what the data is. And if you look at the number of cases that are going to be reported, it's going to be going up for quite some time. So that, to me, is the biggest danger, is that we wind up in this mitigation stage, and we're essentially in this mitigation stage indefinitely.
Right.
Because there's never a catalyst to say, all right, it's gotten better. So you asked what I would do. The big thing I would do for the American people right now is I would say, look, here's where we are. Here are the numbers we have. Here's the dashboard. And if we do a great job flattening the curve, self-quarantining, decreasing the infection rate, then this is the goal at this time frame. And if we can keep it under this level, then our healthcare system's capacity will grow to be able to handle this. And then we can look at potentially reopening things at this point. So if we do a great job, and I want you all to do a great job, but right now we're all in the dark.
Right.
We don't know what we're shooting for. We don't know what the goals are. We don't know what success looks like. And so we're all at home with our kids trying to figure out what's next.
American citizens have to be willing to give up a little bit of civil liberties in order to really self-quarantine though, right? Like the government is going to have to say, look, everybody has to stay home. Things is shut down for 2 weeks, everything.
Yeah, what do you think about that? San Francisco has done it. Do you think that we should do it?
And China did it, right? Didn't China have 100% shutdown?
China shut it down pretty thoroughly. It's like you look at what they've done. And it is true. We've got very different societies. I came in today, obviously I'm in the studio with you all. And certainly there was less traffic and foot traffic than normal. But there's still people out and about.
There's a lot of people out there driving around and everything. Now, what do you think about New York? Do you think we should shut down New York?
I think that
because people are not going to stay home, especially New Yorkers. New Yorkers are not going to stay home.
You got to make it government mandated.
I see people at the park. Do you think we should just shut it down?
I think that it's tough because there are a lot of things that people are going to rely on. Like, let's say you quote unquote shut it down, and I'm at home. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to go out to the bodega and try and get some groceries. Or
not if the bodega's shut down.
Exactly. So then you have to look around and say there are all of these things that people will rely upon, even if they're at home. Even if they're just sitting there saying, you know what, I'm going to order some delivery. Like, who the heck is the delivery person? So then you'd have to at least make some calls as to say, well, people that are vital to the continuing functioning of the infrastructure we rely upon, like sanitation, obviously they need to go out, police, firefighters.
Yeah.
But then you'd say also truck drivers, farmers, manufacturers, people that are putting the stuff together so that when you go to the grocery store, there's stuff there.
Yeah.
Because if you're at home and there's nothing to get, then you become desperate really quick. So there are a number of people that definitely need to be out and about. And then there's a bit of a line drawing issue where you say, well, does this person need to be out and about? It's like, well, they're doing something that's maybe important enough to warrant it. So I think that a total lockdown would be a bit much at this stage. But certainly if it's optional, and you can stay home, then you should.
Americans don't have the discipline. You can't give them the option because they'll be in Times Square taking pictures and videos because it's empty. I saw so many social media influencers doing that yesterday.
The other piece of it too is that even if you were to say, I saw a picture on the TV yesterday about San Francisco post-lockdown, and there are people out jogging and whatnot. You know what I mean? And we certainly don't want to be a country where you all of a sudden have police with ushering all these people into their homes from the park. To me, that's not where we want to be. I don't think we're there at this point, even by the data too. The data doesn't say that's what we should be doing.
Let's talk about solutions. You're doing something with Humanity Forward, which I think is dope. What are you doing?
I'm here to announce that we're going to give $1 million away to the working poor in New York City and beyond.
A whole $1 million.
Yeah.
No, 1 million.
Yeah, because we know that people are suffering right now. We know that there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of need. And you've probably seen the announcements about how the government seems like they're poised to send checks to everybody. But
they're taking your style. They're taking your universal basic income. They're taking that's your plan, Yang.
Yeah. There are a lot of Yang Gang now over in D.C.
Yeah, I see.
now that it's crisis time. But we can't wait that long. The soonest they're going to get these checks out is April. And we know that there are a lot of people suffering right now in the Bronx and other parts of New York City. So we're going to put $1 million to work immediately, and we're hoping people will join us in this, and we'll get it up to a couple million, and then 3 million, then 4 million.
Drop on the clues bombs for Andrew Yang. He's giving $1 million to New York City, in just the whole city, all 5 boroughs, or?
Well, we're focusing on the Bronx, and we have a couple of partners that are going to help us get the money into people's hands directly in a way to be most effective. So we're working with an organization called Neighborhood Trust that is community-based financial planning nonprofit that actually helps people figure out how to, get money and save it. And so it's perfect because we're going to work with them to get money into the bank accounts of the working poor in the Bronx, and then they actually are going to give like a complimentary 15-minute hey, you know what you're going to do with this money kind of style. So that's exciting, and that's very direct. But we're also going to be donating money to tipped workers, wait staff who've lost their jobs. And then we're just going to be giving money away to the general public on our website, movehumanityforward.com.
Wow.
That if you just come, we're going to give $250 to $500 micro grants to people who just come and tell us why they need the money. We can't do everyone, obviously, but we're going to do all we can. And if we get enough money, we can do more.
What's the website again?
The website's movehumanityforward.com. And the goal is to just take action to help ourselves, help our people, and show that, one, we can do this, and two, we have to act now, and we can't even wait for the government to get its shit together.
So this is $1 million out of your pocket?
It's $1 million that was donated to the nonprofit I started maybe 2 weeks ago. And so, if you get money, this is how we should use it. So my organization is geared towards promoting universal basic income and the fact that we need to build a human-centered economy. And we're in a crisis, so we're going to start giving money away right now.
Now,
We got to donate, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know things are tight because we are in a recession. So I got to talk to my financial advisor and see how much I can donate.
Yeah, I got to talk to my wife. How about that?
I got to talk to my wife too, her too. But I think we definitely going to donate to this cause. This is a great cause.
Oh, thank you, guys. And what I can tell you is 100% of every dollar you donate is going to go towards just directly into someone's hands who needs it. Like they're going to be, there's like no friction, nothing attached. Like you give, whatever you give, we're going to get it into people's hands in increments of $250, $500, or $1,000 to try and prop people up.
So $5,000 can go a long way then.
Oh yeah, man. $5,000 could be 20 people getting $250, and then you'll probably see those stories posted on social media. We'll freaking
I hope so.
We'll actually just say it's like, look, like this could be from Charlamagne.
I'm in for that. I mean, I got you.
Absolutely.
$5,000. I got you for $5,000, Yang.
There you go.
I like this.
All right.
How much you want to
I got to talk to my wife first, but I might match you. I got to talk to my wife first, but I might match you. Now
So we can give $10,000 together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about how the mayor is doing in New York City?
Oh man, gosh.
What's so funny about that? That was a funny question.
To me, it's like, come on, like barking about the Nets having like coronavirus tests. I mean, it's common sense those dudes would get tests. Like they were freaking on the court with people who were positive. And just I feel like he needs to line up with the governor too. Like you can't be saying like New York City is going to do one thing and then the governor being like, actually, that's not really a city decision. And it's like he just needs to get on the same page with other folks and not feel like he's just trying to grandstand, honestly.
I'm hearing that you're considering running for mayor of New York, Andrew. Any truth to that?
I'd love to help in any way I can, and certainly if I can help the people in New York, I'm going to do everything I can. My campaign's issues were around national issues, frankly.
Yeah.
But we're looking at the mayor race and certainly wouldn't rule it out.
Because I was going to ask that if you were mayor, you couldn't push universal basic income and a lot of other legislative ideas you have. So what would happen to that?
You know, I think there are ways you can always push universal basic income. Like I'm not in an office now, and like I'm finding a way to do it by giving away this money. So there, as mayor, I'm sure I could do a lot. As mayor, I bet I could get some people together who still want to run universal basic income pilots right here in New York or in other parts of the country, because like people see it's the future, it's necessary, and unfortunately, this crisis is making it crystal clear to people that we need to act bigger in ways to directly put money into people's hands.
I like that for
Gotcha.
you. I like Andrew Yang, mayor of New York.
Oh, thanks, man. That's really kind.
I like that.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people that have reached out saying, if you run, I'm in. And it's very gratifying. We'll definitely look at it.
So you think that's a possibility?
It's a possibility for sure. I mean, that there are other possibilities too. Like obviously, if the Democrats beat Trump in the fall, there's a good chance that I join the administration in some form. So there are different things on the table. First things first. First, we got to take care of our people. Then we got to get money into people's hands at like a grand scale to try and get through this crisis. We have to figure out when we're going to reopen things. And then we got to beat Trump in the fall. I mean, there's a lot on the plate.
Has Biden promised you a cabinet position?
We've talked, and I'd have a place in the administration is the pretty clear message.
You endorsed Joe Biden, but I remember you saying you wouldn't endorse a candidate who didn't endorse universal basic income, and Biden never has.
Well, what I said was endorsing universal basic income would be a way to get me to come out and support you, but I also said I'm going to support whoever the nominee is, and after Michigan, the math was clear that Biden was going to be our nominee. So I thought, look, like we don't have any time to waste in terms of pulling people together to beat Donald Trump.
You think Bernie should just tap out?
It's you can't speak for Bernie because he's a hero and icon. I'm a supporter of his from 2016. But I have to say right now the math's even worse than it was after last week. And it's hard to make a comeback when people are supposed to stay indoors for the coronavirus,
Right.
Like I compared it to like a football game where there's like a thunderstorm coming in. I mean, ordinarily you're like, hey guys, you should probably
Wrap this up now.
Should probably wrap it up. But Bernie's a hero of mine. He actually inspired my run. So I understand all the passion and support, and it'd be very hard for him to tap out.
How do you unify the party though? How do you get Yang Gang or even Bernie bros to say, you know what, we will support the establishment? Because Joe Biden is every bit of the establishment.
I think that's why Bernie is such an important figure. Like if Bernie says to his people, look, job one is beat Trump. Joe's a good man. And Bernie and Joe are actually friends and friendly, so it's not like, frankly, last time, because I don't have the sense that Bernie and Hillary had that relationship.
Right.
So I think if Bernie comes out really strong and clear to his people and says we have to come together, and if Biden signals that he'll make concessions and adjustments based upon Bernie's priorities in terms of the Democratic platform or the agenda of the administration, I think if those two can come together, then the party will unify to a much higher degree than if people sense that it's only skin deep.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't what America's doing right now by giving out all this money, isn't that socialism?
It is not socialism, I'm happy to report.
Okay.
So it's capitalism where income doesn't start at zero. So people think of socialism as free money. Socialism is not free money. If you look up the definition of socialism in the dictionary, it's when the means of production is appropriated by the government. So that's if the government comes and says, hey, we now own Google. We now own Ford. We now own all these private companies. That's socialism. Putting money into people's hands actually helps markets function better. It helps businesses start. It's actually good for the market economy. It's one reason why I was so passionate about it is that if we do not take this step of putting money into people's hands, capitalism is not going to work as well. It's not working that well now. Like people see it around. That's why everyone's getting pissed off. So to me, putting money into people's hands is the necessary future of capitalism because markets are not going to function if we don't have money to spend.
Isn't that what Bernie wanted to do though?
If Bernie had come out for universal basic income months ago, holy cow, would I have been freaking pumped. But Bernie and I debated about it directly on the stage where I was like, hey, we should give people money. And then he was like, hey, we should have the federal government guarantee everyone a job. And I was like, hey, I disagree. That's kind of a shit idea, honestly. So like Bernie was not advocating for putting money directly into people's hands. If he had been, then I would have been really, really happy and excited.
The Trump administration reached out to you, though, right? Didn't they reach out to you about universal basic income with their whole cash relief thing they're doing now?
Yeah, our team's in touch with their team. We sent over a bunch of studies that show that if you put money into people's hands, it makes them happier, healthier, mentally healthier, more trusting, more productive. So they're looking for any ammo to obviously support the policy that they're clearly going to end up implementing in the next number of days happily. I mean, I just hope that checks get here quickly.
But it's so crazy, right? They stole your shit. So basically everybody's saying you were right.
But he got it from
about
somewhere
cash
else. He
relief.
got it from somewhere else.
He got it
himself,
from
too.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, that's true.
got it from
Not
somewhere else,
Yang's
too.
idea. I got it from MLK and
Martin Luther King
some other
Jr.
folks.
Yeah, but they're basically saying you're right. Do you think it's easier to get things done as an old white man in this country? If you were an old white man, people would have listened to you more.
No, I think it would have been a tough message regardless of who the messenger was. I'll tell you guys a story that you'll appreciate. So I was with a black mayor who supports universal basic income, and then he came to me afterwards and says, like, you can get away with saying shit I could never say. It's like the magical Asian man saying we should give everyone money is actually like not a bad look in the scheme of things. If I was an old white dude, like I probably would have come across as like, a socialist or something more so than I do, because people sense that I'm an entrepreneur. I like progress. I like innovation. And I just think putting money into people's hands is the vital next step to actually build a future we're excited about.
But Trump is going to get it done. But if when you say it, it's like, oh, he's crazy. That'll never happen. He don't. I even said it to you one time. Like, people think that the only reason you're even in this is because you're just promising to give people money, and now they're doing that.
Yeah.
Clearly, old white men have an advantage in that department.
Well, certainly if you're in power and it's a crisis, it's a lot easier to send all the checks out than if you're on the outside saying, hey, we should send everyone checks.
You think it's different because we are in a crisis, so people look at it differently than opposed to before when we weren't in that crisis?
Well, the fact is, I thought we were in a crisis the whole time. I thought we were in a slow-moving crisis because this economy was just grinding us up, and it was just going to get worse and worse over time as technology got better. Now, the pandemic is a crystal clear crisis that has woken Congress up. But to me, this is the right move. This is the right move after the virus subsides, too. Like, to me, we should just make this permanent.
Right.
Is there an end to this coronavirus stuff, you think?
And that's one of the problems, one of the big problems, because like when you say like end to the coronavirus, I mean, are we going to expunge this virus entirely in our country? Clearly not. At this point, thousands of people have, and I'll tell you, like whatever number, like I have two friends who got the flu, pretty bad version. Did they have the coronavirus? No one knows.
Yeah, they might have, that's what I'm telling everybody. Like, you could have had it before and just went through your system.
Yeah. So we know the virus is going to be with us for a while. The question is whether the spread is such that it's actually affecting schools and businesses and bars and restaurants and that. But the virus is going to be with us until we get a vaccine. So the vaccine, let's call it a year and a half from now. Post-vaccine, we should be all right, because if you vaccinate everyone, then it's under control. So the question is, what does the next year and a half look like? And no one obviously thinks that we're going to be in this lockdown mode for that long. But there is a world where we come out and then the virus comes back and then they say, hey, we need to lock it down again for a particular period of time.
So, because I think about like Ebola and swine flu and bird flu and
Zika.
SARS and Zika and like what happened to all those?
So the big issue here is that those diseases were more deadly, more virulent than the coronavirus that we're dealing with now. And you'd think, okay, well, the coronavirus being less deadly, that's a good thing. And it is a good thing. But it also means it's a lot harder to get rid of because it's just kind of around. Like, you can be asymptomatic. So the diseases that actually are more lethal burn out more quickly. And because this thing is less lethal than those diseases, it's likely to linger for quite some time.
Now, what are you doing to protect yourself and your family? Because you're out and about. Are you self-quarantining yourself?
I'm not that out and about. This is also a special occasion for me.
See you on CNN every night. Stop it.
Well, that studio is pretty well sanitized. they don't even put makeup on you anymore because they're just like, hey,
It is what it is.
yeah, I got to protect the makeup artist. But my family is out of the city. I drove in this morning, not seeing that many people. Obviously, there are no gatherings on tap.
Why is it so easy to get money at times like this, but not for everyday issues like poverty? Because like the hood is needed a bailout forever.
Yeah, I agree. This is why Dr. King was fighting for this in the 60s. The fact that it went from being something that he was fighting for to essentially off the radar for so many decades, to me, is mystifying. It's like we've needed this the whole time. It actually came close to passing Congress in 1971, and that to me was the moment. Like if we'd passed a version of universal basic income in 1971, imagine all of the pointless misery that would have been alleviated from then till now. But I agree with you. It takes a crisis to get new ideas across the finish line sometimes. It takes different people waking up, because I've been fighting for universal basic income obviously for like years now. And what someone said to me, I think is the right answer, is that they said the enemy of giving everyone money is the human mind. Because if you're a normal human being, you're programmed for resource scarcity, and money is the scarcest resource of them all. You're literally organizing your day around trying to save $5 at the gas pump,
right?
Or like, hey, if I do this, like I can save a few bucks here and there.
It's true.
So then if someone comes along and says, hey, I just want to give you $1,000 every month forever, then it just seems like, well, that doesn't jive with my world. Like that doesn't jive with the way I see the world. It doesn't seem possible to me. And so it's very hard to get someone to actually even recognize the possibility. That's what I've been fighting for the last couple of years. And this crisis is terrible. It's devastating lives and communities. There are all these people who are, incredibly anxious. But I will say that it's about to make things that seemed far out actually possible, like giving everyone money.
Absolutely.
And after we get this money into everyone's hands, I'm pretty sure people will like it. I'm pretty sure people will say, like, wow, we did that. We can do that. Maybe we should do that all the time.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, they give you hell. They give Bernie hell. They give Elizabeth Warren hell. And they were like, where are y'all going to get this money from? But now they asking for $1 trillion fucking dollars.
Oh, this is one of the things I said to people around the country. I said the biggest lie in American life today is that we don't have the money. Because when the banks needed money, we printed $4 trillion for them. And no one remembers anyone looking around being like, oh, do we have that money? It's like when the banking system
we just print the money.
Needed $4 trillion, we gave it to them. Trump tax cut, that was $1.5 trillion. That went to big companies. And most of that money went to share buybacks, in the top 1 or 2%. And so if we're broke, like if like families are struggling, then someone looks at them and be like, well, what can you do? But if you're a giant bank or drug company or a military contractor or what have you, they just can't give you money fast enough.
Right.
So to me, the change we have to make is we have to start treating ourselves and our people better than we're treating the giant companies. And I was joking with folks on the campaign trail, but it's true. They said that our government is right there for you if your first name is big and your last name is company. And if your name's anything else, they can't hear you. They can't see you.
Right.
Because at this point, the market has completely overrun the government. Everything revolves around the almighty dollar. I have a friend who went to Capitol Hill to try and do right, and he told me he'd never become a lobbyist. How does this story end 15 years later? He's a lobbyist. Like that. We just know that's what's going on in that town. And so to me, this has to be a case that the people make and say it's time for us to be the center of our government's attention and of our economy as opposed to just serving these giant companies.
Right. Now, anything you regret doing on the campaign trail?
I regret a lot of things. I'm really proud of a lot of things too, Certainly the whipped cream thing seemed completely innocuous at the time, and then some people made a big thing out of it. I was like,
come on, think harder.
You got something for him? What you think?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what I do wrong, man?
The choir robe with the black church. That just looked like pandering. Why did you put the choir robe on and sing at the black church?
If you were there, so what happened was like I was there with the choir, and then the people in the choir wanted selfies with me, so I went in and they were taking selfies, and then one of the people who was singing literally put the robe on me, and then they were singing, and then obviously like I'm there, I've got the robe on, so I just sing too, and then someone takes a video of it.
Yeah, you couldn't say no. That black pressure ain't no joke.
Nah, not when they putting the robe.
Yeah, you couldn't say.
It happens sometimes.
You couldn't say no.
So that was certainly not like the intent. I was just there. Like people were like, "Hey, come on in, take selfies." I was like, "Sure." And then someone puts a robe on you, like, "Sure." And then you're there, and then you're like, "All right, like I can roll with this." I enjoyed it. Like I'd feel terrible if someone thought it was anything other than like me trying to be a part of the community or supportive.
So you didn't feel stupid.
It actually felt great, honestly, because like it's a much more fun way to participate in a church service than sitting in a pew, like having your head down. I mean, like who doesn't want to actually like stand up, get the blood flowing, and sing with people who are better singers than you? I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
I'm glad you're standing by that, because perception is not reality. Because the perception, you're like, oh, he looks stupid. But if you felt good,
he felt good.
That's all that matters.
He's praising the Lord.
Oh, I'm sure I've looked stupid at any number of times on this trail. But it's like, yeah, that was not something I felt anything but like good about, honestly.
Now, what made you want to be a CNN commentator? Because some people think that was your play the whole time. It was like, oh, Andrew just wanted to get in the race, get famous, and use this to sell books. And
well, that's a really weird way to go about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. So what happened was I suspended my campaign, and then CNN called the next day and was like, hey, you want to come on and talk about stuff? And then to me, the concern at the time was that, frankly, like the movement was going to lose steam. It's like we'd built this following, have like almost 500,000 people donated to my campaign, like, a million people support us. Over 100,000 people have voted for me, and I'm like not even actively running anymore, So there's like a lot of support for the movement.
Right.
And then my concern was like, well, what the heck happens to the movement if I just disappear? And so CNN calls and says, hey, do you want to be on air talking about the race? And I said, well, this is one way I can maintain a degree of public visibility and notoriety and keep pushing the agenda. So that, it said yes. And it was honestly a short-term deal. But it looks like I might be there a while longer because like it seems like a good fit.
I thought it was great for them, especially being that you got such an active social media following. So your people follow you, so they're going to be watching you, they tweet about you. So I thought it was great for them.
Yeah, and I think it's good for me, too, because, I get to go on air and talk about things I care about. Like, I've made the case for some of these issues repeatedly on air, and I'll say, like, it's felt like I'm continuing to push the ball forward.
But did the Childish Gambino and Dave Chappelle endorsements help, you think?
I mean, of course, geez. Dave freaking went and performed shows on my behalf in Iowa and South Carolina. I mean, that was like the greatest thing ever. Donald Glover had like a freaking fashion line dedicated to the campaign that was like an awesome both awareness and fundraising tool. And I'm in touch with those guys. Like I thanked them obviously after we suspended. And Dave just texted me 2 days ago when they came out with all this give money away stuff. He was like, man, like like you were right. Like we pushed him in the right direction.
All right. Well, I got one more question. My final question. What do we see in the government bailing out all these different people they're willing to give the money? The case for reparations for Black America.
To me, step one is right now, step one's like take care of the crisis and then get money into people's hands, and then we should turn towards reparations. But I think you need to be a stronger, more integrated society for them to actually realistically move reparations forward, and so that's job one, is try and pull people together.
You mean like we need to be more organized about it?
Not even like it's not even like Black people need to be more organized about it. I mean that we need to get our country to a point where it can realistically reckon with our past. And that's not, to me, a Black problem. That's like
an American problem.
That's an American problem, right?
Yeah.
So you got to try and get America to that point, and then we should 100% be trying to move reparations forward.
Now, with everything going on, how long do you think it'll take till we get semi back to normal? you had to put a timeline on it, how long do you think where people can leave the house and start going to work again? Kids could be going to school. How long do you think it will take?
Every indication I've gotten from the government indicates that they're planning on a time frame of at least 2 months, because the checks that they're looking to send out right now, the dates that they have pegged to them are early April and mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
So they're projecting that this crisis stretches on through at least Memorial Day. And so that, to me, is a realistic expectation if that's the way the federal government is playing it.
Okay. After Memorial Day, you think things will get relatively back to normal?
I think that
Hope so.
I think that we're in all likelihood in this state through at least late May, and then the hope is that things clear up by then. I mean, hopefully before then, but it doesn't seem like the government is planning on anything changing between now and that time frame, late May.
Let's say after Memorial Day, only because we don't want everybody thinking
Start
they can go
planning
out,
trips,
and can go have
4th
their
of
Memorial
July,
Day
motherfuckers
festivities.
like, yeah.
You know, Memorial Day is a very festive time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, who knows? Like, maybe things will happen in a positive way before then, but that seems like what the government is trying to prepare us for, is that kind of time frame. And it makes sense, too, because a lot of these schools are shut. They may not they may not, obviously reopen this semester. And so you're looking at this extending the summer, and then hopefully the schools are able to reopen in full.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Andrew Yang, thank you. You're giving
Andrew
$1 million
Yang.
to New York City.
MoveHumanityForward.com. Let's do it. Let's genuinely move humanity forward. This is a lousy time, but hopefully we can come together and take care of our people.
And he's going to run for mayor in New York. And he taught us that the only way to get things done in this country is to have old white men push it.
There you go.
That's right. So reparations, universal basic income, we need old white men to get behind these things to make it happen.
He said it, I didn't.
All right. It's Andrew Yang. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.